when I first came around this part and I got a sponsor, I'd had this little word with him that I would call I'm reincarnated. So it kind of stuck with me and it helped me grow because it would help me analyze the simple fact that I was able to put who I once was away and rebirth myself in a different way.
Fucking bumper sticker, right? Macbeth kept me sober for 6 months. So like, what's something that's kept you sober?
I'm Mathew Warner. I'm a graduate of the Shepherd's House. I'm running on about 4 years clean. Sobriety date, July 19th. I'm from Mercer County, so being here in Lexington is a big change for me, especially because there's a total difference. So with that being said, I'm more challenged to things here in Lexington, but I'm also able to see more growth. I have recently found myself, is the way I would put it. I grew up in a very loving family in a way.
So you come from a good home?
I come from a very good home.
Okay.
Not money-wise, but I was rich in a different way, with love. My dad's character that he talked about, or that they talk about, I never got to see that part. I was the kid my dad stayed around for. My dad was a mechanic. My mom, she didn't have to work. But I remember growing up and I would see my dad on binges. And the only time I would see him for the first portion of my life was when his friends would bring him home to drop him off after drinking. There was a question that I asked my dad that sticks out to me. I was about 4 years old and I'd seen my dad locked up. There was a question that I could, I didn't realize what it meant until I got older. But I remember seeing my dad behind the glass and I was like, why can't you stay out of there? At that age, I thought it was a simple thing, like you just stop it. Not realizing he had these character defects and struggles of his own. My mom was the love and support. My mom had only been to jail twice.
So you're a mama's boy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I grew to be a mama's boy. First, my dad was my hero because it was like nothing could defeat him. When my dad wasn't drinking and wasn't doing anything, he'd give you the shirt off his back. There was a couple moments they said my dad smacked my mom around and stuff when I was a baby. But other than that, the violence I'd never seen unless he was trying to protect us. He was genuinely a good guy as long as he had his mind straight. I figure out before any of them even try to explain it to me what's going on. So my dad ends up with this brain tumor right on his thought process, which is back here. And I slowly seen it like it was swelling. By each day he would lose his mind more and more to where he couldn't use the restroom. Well, he could use the restroom, but he wasn't aware of where he was going. He wasn't aware of what was going on around him. So he would scream in the middle of the night, saying he was seeing gargoyles and having bad dreams. And like I said, my dad lacked the communication with me. He knew how to show me he loved me. But at that age, I really needed somebody to tell me, explain life to me. Like he taught me everything else a man could learn, except for the love part. Within about maybe a month and a half period, my dad ended up going into a coma. And he was there in the hospital for about a week with his eyes open. They kept rubbing this stuff on his eyes, that way they didn't dry out. And he ended up passing away on my mom and his anniversary. So at this point in time, my discipline and all that is out the window. Because now the only one that can actually maintain me and put a fear in me is now left. And now I'm struggling with this thought of blaming God is what it was. My grandmother has always lived right next door to us throughout the whole portion of my life then. And while my dad's in the hospital, she goes to the hospital. And maybe a week after he dies, she dies. So it's like my two biggest people in my life at that moment are just kind of like wham, double whammy taken away from me. So I fly off the handles, man. This is where my whole drug addiction starts, really.
At 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
I start smoking pot and drinking, and I figure out what pills are. So now, like I said, I'm batshit off the walls now.
What'd you get introduced to when you say pills?
Loratabs.
Loratabs? Who gave you your first Loratab?
It would have been my cousin.
Okay.
She lived right across the street. Throughout time passes, my mom can't even control me. She files 2 out-of-control orders on me. She even takes me out of state. She takes me, sneaks me to Washington without me knowing. I pass out in the car, and next thing I know, when I wake up, I'm like, why are we in a different state? And she's like, I can't do nothing with you, so I'll just remove you from everything. Well, bless her heart, really, because once we get to moving, and then we end up in Washington State, and I get to know it a little bit better, I'm like, the weed here is crazy. So that lasted about 3 months, and she was like, I can't even take him there. She was like, we was better off where we was. So, and my mom made one promise to my dad before he died. She was like, no matter what it takes, I'll take care of him. And she held up to that. So we come back, and now it's even more, because now everybody's happy to see me. And now I get involved with some more family members, and now my age doesn't stop me from getting anything, because now I have someone to buy me the liquor. And now not only do I have a source of alcohol, but I've became an alcoholic just touching high school. Every day, I remember before school, I'd crush up Xanaxes and Loratabs and smoke about 6 blunts and get shit-faced, and then I'd go to school. Sleep most of the day. Come back. Not only do I form that, I form a drug addiction habit, or a drug dealing habit, because now I realize that I don't have to pay for what I do.
When you were in high school doing all that, were your buddies like that? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
did you play sports?
Nah. I wasn't even worried about sports. Like, I was worried about constantly fucking my life up.
So all your friends ran around like you too?
The exact same way.
Gotcha.
Because I was the one that always had it. So, actually, my first run-in with the law, really, was probably at a party that I had no business being at, because I was one of the only underage people there. So I remember it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. They was like, call your mom. And I was like, nah. I was like, I'm not going. I was like, I'd just rather go to jail. They was like, we can't take you there. And I was like, nah, take me to jail. And they was like, we can't do that. So I ended up calling my mom. She picks me up. And at this point, I think she's just so disappointed, she's not even worried about doing anything about it. So what do? I'm right back off to it again. As soon as I get home, I leave right back out. I think it was a month after that I turned 18. And I ended up at a park where I got caught with a whole bunch of overage kids again. Well, these guys are like 21, 22, and I'm fresh 18. I ended up going to jail. Or I didn't go to jail that time. Matter of fact, there was another time when they was like, call your mom. And I was like, man, I'd rather just go to jail again. And they were like, we're not doing that. So this time, like, my mom's got a black woman mentality to the fullest. So when she gets there and she opens this door, you thought it was a full-grown man getting out. And she was like, Mathew! And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I remember I was like, why didn't y'all just take me to jail? So they charged me, and I go through some stuff with that. I'd max maybe 2 months on the street every time, and I'd go back 30 days, 60 days, constantly. I turned about 22, 23. Now, by this time, I've had every drug known to man you could think of probably touch my system. I catch my first felony then. My first felony, I was driving down the bypass in Harrodsburg. And there was a woman walking. And I just bought this truck, no license. I bought insurance on a truck that don't even know how that happened because I don't have a license to put it in. I give him my ID name. But long story short, the lady was walking. She had some home troubles, and I hit this woman, and I killed her. I wanted so bad to change that or try to some way help, but it was really a struggle, man, because what jail is not going to do is offer you anybody to talk to. Mm-hmm. So it's really a struggle in there, and you're thinking, like, what did I do? Like, how this happened to me? You've got so much on your mind, and you're just wondering, like, I wish I had someone to just tell this to. Because you're fighting a battle in there, because you're like, I can't leak out too much because it could hinder me, and I could be in the whole situation, but I need somebody to talk to. So you're kind of stuck in a silent room in your head. So I do about 5 years for that, but I work off a lot of good time with it. So my first little run-in with seeing with what formatting of recovery or anything like that was during this time. They'd sent me to Marion County SAP. Obviously, it took me a few little runs to get to the point that I'm at now because I did not take that serious. Mm-hmm. But it also knocked off the edge of a lot of stuff in my mind. Because no matter how serious I took it, there was still moments during that I had some type of work that I had to put in to open myself. Throughout the process of that, like when I first started, man, my first thought was I'm going to get killed somewhere. I do what just about every inmate is. I call home, tell my family how good I'm doing. I sell them all these false lies and all that, and I've got it completely sold to them, man.
So when you were in Marion SAP, you were playing the game still?
I was playing the game. I was in there breaking every cardinal rule. I was just about to touch 20 months, and they was like, who wants to go to SAP? By this time, I'd been in and out of the hole from the last place I was at. That's why I took the SAP. I complete SAP, man. They gave me parole upon completion. I think I lasted 30 minutes on the street before I went back to doing what I was doing. I spent my whole first day out with my head between my lap. This time I feel like it was probably one of my worst addiction runs at that time.
What was your drug of choice for that run?
Methamphetamine and heroin. I have a bad problem with needles.
Can you tell me what an average day for you was as a needle user?
I chase a high, and luckily, if I remember it, because I like the speedball, or I like to try to find some way to where I don't remember the day, whether it's I eat a handful of Xanaxes, but a normal day looks like my arms are sore. I've got track marks on me. I probably ain't showered in days. There's a lot of violence, especially if I'm not at a point where I'm able to be stabilized on my own. Then I have this thought in my head that it's okay that I should take from others. That whatever is theirs is ours. And if it's not that way, then it's mine. I outrun just about every cop. But there is a group of people who get me every time because they are a silent attack. It's the parole officers. They surround it, which cops will not do. Cops like to walk up on you. But the parole officers surround it and then get me. So they come and get me this time, and this parole officer, and she wanted me so bad to get life, but I just wasn't feeling it. So I remember she takes me to the jail. I catch a whole nother charge there. I've got these needles in my underwear, and I've got about 14 ounces of meth, like right in my crotch. So we're on the way to the jail. They're going to give me a sanction, but the 90-degree weather has got me pouring sweat in these overall bibs. So I'm like, man. I'm like, we're going to have a bad incident. I'm like, I'm going to drop everything out of my underwear. So she's like, we got to stop by the parole office and do Matthew's paperwork. And I'm like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. So they get out of the car, and I'm like, can I just sit here? They're like, nah, you got to come in. He's like, you got anything on you? I was like, nah. He said, you sure? He said, I won't charge you with anything. So I'm like, I'm not that kind of fool. We get to going. Now, like I said, my whole body is sweating from the oil in my pores, and I'm just naturally out here in 90-degree weather. So I get to tiptoeing. He's like, you sure? So we get to standing there, and I'm like, all right, this time I got to tell him. I'm like, you know what? I try to break it down to him, and it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. And I'm like, look, man, you said you weren't going to charge me. He was like, you got something on you? I was like, that's not what I asked you. And he was like, just tell us. I was like, you answer my question, I'll answer yours. He's like, all right. So I remember we go in this bathroom, and the way I pictured it was totally different. So I stick my arms out for him to uncuff me, and he pushes my arms to the air. So I put them back down, and he's like, lift your arms. And I'm like, why? He's like, so we can get it. And I was like, what do you mean so you can get it? He's like, we're going to get it. And I'm like, So I remember I had one parole officer in front of me and one behind me. Both of them just digging all in my underwear. So I'm like, God. So here I go again. They lock me back up. I have to kill out the rest of the time from the old charge, then start this one. My sister signs me out on a signature bond after this whole 9 months I'd been in there. Well, I'm right back to it. The fact that I would choose violence on people who did not deserve it. I would get so sketched out that I would strip people butt naked thinking they were stealing from me. I'd get so delusional, I would think that a raccoon is chasing me. And I'd carry a pistol with me at all times. So I'm a time bomb at all moments. Because you never know when I'm going to just randomly start shooting this gun thinking something's after me. Or if I'm just going to hold somebody at gunpoint, like, give me your stuff.
Did you lose a lot of people?
Yeah. I've lost a lot of good friends. And to be real with you, I've lost more while I've been sober than when I was in addiction. Or maybe it's just one of those things that I never realized until I got sober. Because it's obvious that in addiction I'm chasing death, so it's nothing if we're all falling off like flies.
What part of drug addiction do you have the most shame over?
Do I have the most shame over? The fact that I kept choosing that lifestyle over the lifestyle I was supposed to live. So I would let down so many people that actually were trying or cared for me, that kept letting me back in, like my sisters, my mom. Because anytime I do time, they're forced to do time too. So it's kind of like I just kind of shit on them. And it's selfish. And I've lost a lot of good things that I could have been at that will not ever repeat themselves in life. my niece is graduating, me actually having the chance to graduate. It's a lot of things like that. My last run, man. I'm the type of person that if you ask me if I want to go to rehab, I'm going to tell you no. Like, I know I don't want to quit getting high. I'm not going to waste your time. So, this is the first time when I came to Lexington I truly wanted to do something. And that's because my last run looked like this. They kicked my mom's door open and they found about a half pound of meth. And I remember when they kicked the door open, they was trying to put my mom on the ground. And just the fact that I had to be almost combative with the cops and all that, like, leave her, you came for me. I'll come out voluntarily if you don't fuck with her. I ended up getting out of jail again. COVID hits, and my mind tries to justify this little thought because they keep lowering my bond. But I finally put it in my head like I don't need to go nowhere. I'm back to weighing 180. I don't need to go nowhere. So my bond goes from like 20,000 down to 1,000, down to 500. And then he tells me, he said, man, we're going to 2% your bond. And I was like, what is that? He was like, your bond is now $200. And I was like, that's a sign from God. And what do? I leave and I go right back to it. I ended up so bad, man, that I'd trashed my mom's house so bad. I was filling up 5-gallon buckets of water late at night. And I'd go to people's house. And I'd fill these 5-gallon buckets up. And I'd push them all the way back across town so that we had water. And I'd do that all the time. I was running around stealing. Half the time I couldn't even go home because the cops know I'm there. So it's constantly on the run. When they first come to get me, I didn't already had it known in my head that they were coming. So I took a jigsaw and I cut the flooring out of the closet. That way when they came to get me, I'd jump to this floor and I'd run out the crawl space. They ended up charging me with escape for that. I'd rack up a charge every time I'd see the law because they know it's me. I finally touched a point in my life where I wouldn't turn myself in, but I wished somebody was quick enough to catch me because I was tired of it. Hearing my mom in the other room crying, praying to God that somehow that something would stop me and cause me to change. And just stopping having to think in my own mind and in my own body like how far I've dug myself and why can't I get it right? Back to the question of what I asked my dad. Why can't I stay out of there? I'd finally decided that I was going back home, and if they caught me, they caught me. Because it was about time my mama see my face. It's nothing new for them to worry about if I'm dead or in jail. So I get there, man, and I'm not there 2 days. And I was dating this girl at this time, and she had just got out of jail. And behold, she shows up to get her. And I don't know they're outside. And old girl she comes in the room and I was like, why are you acting weird? She was like, police are here. And I was like, what are you thinking? You know we're both going to jail, right? So I send the old girl out of the crawl space and I try to hide under these clothes. I'm talking about blankets, all that. I yank it out of the closet on top of me. It took the law about 2 hours to find me inside the house. Dave took the dogs out and every person in the house out because they sprayed so much pepper spray trying to just smoke me out of this house. I'm in there with these dreads about this long. They've sprayed everything that's on top of me. One cop has come in searching. He's touched my foot. Never realized I was there. And I remember my high school woodworking teacher became a cop. And I remember the only thing I could hear him say is, Mathew, you know it's me, and you know how this is gonna go. And laying under this blanket, I knew that it was over, because I was like, God, I was like, fuck, it's him. Well, they're knocking on the walls and everything, because they think I've got a trap door somewhere now. Because they we didn't know about this one. So finally he comes, rips the stuff off the bottom half of my body. I remember he was like, Mathew, he was like, I found a foot. And I was like, I'm still not coming out. He's like, I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. He's like, and I'm gonna count them out loud for you. He's like, and I got this taser in my hand. He's like, the only thing I can see is the bottom half of your body. He's like, if you don't come out, he's like, the only clear shot I got has been between your legs. And I was like, oh man. I was like, man, he ain't gonna shoot me. And he was like, 1. So my heart starts racing. He's like, 2. And I'm like, man, he said 2.5. And I was like, you know what? Let's go. So I come out. And at that moment, man, it was like I felt a sense of relief in myself for once. Because I was like, it's over. When I first get in there, I've got this whole moment where I'm like, I'll let somebody know I'm locked up. Which would be my sister and my mom. That's who I always talk to. But I'm like, that feeling of like, I'm not trying to do that again, really. It's like, I'm laying there as my body's trying to come back to normal. Like, I'm not touching that phone. I remember calling my sister. My mama can't do no wrong. She could see me do the worst in front of somebody, but I was still her baby. I told my sister, I was like, they got me again. Like, the 30 seconds before she answered, didn't just tell her it was a collect call. She was like, I'm glad. So I'm like, what? She was like, the ambulance went past my house the other day, and she was like, I thought for sure you was dead. Not just one of those moments where they can just cut me off. Now I'm fucking with somebody else's livelihood and their mental. So Bull County Jail has this tablet system. And I've seen it 1,000 times where you can sign up for this place called the Shepherd's House. I was like, nah, you know, I might ought to give rehab a try for once. Meet this guy named Blake. It was instant. He shows up the next day. He's like, man, I got your application and everything. So Blake works with me. Throughout the process of this, man, I'm feeling like it's too good. They don't want me there. So Blake gets it set to where I come to the Shepherd's House September 9th of 22. I remember a guy named Roger Fox picked me up from jail. The only clothes I have in this property, in this vacuum sealed bag, is a pair of pants, these old beat up Jordans. They are stinking with pepper spray, sweat, and the smell of living in addiction. So when I walk out and I get in the car, and I sit down, he rolls his window down. I'm like, I fucking stink. So I'm like, man, I was like, you give me a shirt? So he stops by the Shepherd's House in Danville, hands me a shirt. He conversates with me the whole way. Gives me a sense of comfort. Lets me know about the place that I'm going to. I pull up, I remember I see one guy. Turned out to be my best friend by the end of it. My first thought process of him was totally wrong. Walk inside and I meet a guy named... That's what really sold me about taking a chance. Because I asked for a shower. Something that you commonly couldn't ask for in addiction. Because nobody really wants you in their house. They give me brand new underwear, a pack of cigarettes, and a great conversation. On my way out to go sit outside, I meet a guy named Jared Thomas. And his energy was so cool. I was like, this place might not be as bad as I'm thinking it is. Realized that these people here were here for the same purpose and they didn't want anything I had because I didn't have shit. I didn't have to call on the phone and sat and lie to my family and tell them how good I was doing. There's the difference about when they called me to ask me if I could be there instead of if I'm gonna be there. The first moment I saw my mama, I realized that everything I'd ever done wrong, I could make it right with this. My sobriety hasn't been the easiest, but it's been worth it. My first year was just learning myself. My second year was loving myself. This third year is when I actually get to put everything that I've learned to keep myself together. I start to gain things like different roles at the shepherd's house.
Like, what do people need to understand when you say, I'm my brother's keeper? What does that mean?
Which means I'm somebody you can count on throughout any moment of your day. And that if you're looking for somewhere to believe in yourself, just know I made it and you got the same opportunity. And if you don't know that way, I'm willing to coach you at any moment or give you suggestions. People that I know, they say I'm an inspiration or whatever, but I still just see myself as Matt. It's who I'm supposed to be. Results back to almost like how my dad would make me mow my granny's yard for free. Because I'm not supposed to take any type of anything for the love of somebody else. I've gained a lot through recovery, like friends, the program, but not necessarily depending on me, but knowing that I'm going to do something, the right thing. I lost my mom last year, so that took a really, really big toll on me. But one of the best things, like I said, is I could make it right. My mom got guaranteed that our baby was sober. Because I don't think at any moment in her life she ever held me when I first came out and thought that I'd fuck up my life, a portion of hers. She'd ever have to pray to God that I might live for another day. I owed a lot of guilt about that. Just because, like I said, I made a crash with my life. But this is what restored it back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what all that mattered. People see me as such an inspiration because I finally grounded myself so well that I didn't run at any part of it. But to be real with you, I ran one place. I walked in and found my mom dead. And the only thought that was on my mind is I need to go somewhere where I know I'm safe. So I made sure I came back to where I established myself, which would have been the recovery house of the Shepherd's House Recovery. I ran there and I made sure that everything was still right. This is still where I am. I have to realize that time does not stop. And I don't ever have to turn back to who I used to be, no matter how bad the situation is. I've been employed for the whole time I've been here at the same job. Now weekend house manage for the Shepherd's House. Man, I've got a beautiful life right now. Not something I would have imagined ever being into now. And I wake up every day and I go to work instead of trying to find my phone and where I'm going to go to get high. I learned to plant my feet with different methods so that if times ever got rough, I know what to do to pull myself out of it. For example, I keep very close with the newcomer in Alcoholics. And that's because I am some type of help to that guy. Or that guy has something to tell me that will spark my brain into a conversation of remembering who I am, why I did this, and what uplifting things I can give them. Because sometimes it's in there, but I have to remind myself. And sometimes that new guy can relate to me more than the guy that's been here forever. But you know, at the end of the day, throughout anybody else that I've made proud, I'm very content with the fact that I made myself proud for once in my life. Now I see these old people that I used to do things to or used to do things with, and they cheer me on instead of like, oh, here he comes. Man, that just means the world to me.
How's your relationship with your family today?
It's real good, for real. I'm very secure with them now. Like, they don't ever have to worry about me dying at a random. On April Fools, I try to play a joke on them. I try to tell them I relapsed. They tell me to shut up. They wouldn't believe in it. So that was like a good feeling. Like, even though I was like, damn, my joke didn't work, that shows me like they believe in me. So it shows I've established myself good enough to know that, like, and it's putting a sense of confidence in me to realize that if I'm willing, there's nothing out there that could make me relapse.
Do you think there's something that this version of you could have said to the 15-year-old version to save his life?
You're not going to change life, and this is not going to be the only time. You should start loving yourself before it's too late. This doesn't always have to be the way it is. That a little work will get him a far away. But he has to start with forgiving himself and loving himself, his or herself. And that's where you're going to start. And you don't ever have to hold anything that's wrong with you in. I am the controller of my emotions, is how Dave Lusser would tell me. So I have to be the one that I have to put my emotions in where I want them to be for it to go how it's supposed to go.
Okay. All right, brother. You got anything else? Have you been nervous?
Nah.
This is not easier than the lead.
That is just, I'm cool with this.
Yeah.